Hello, everybody. Today's topic is on learning how to become become safe, to feel safe, right? To feel safe in your body. And one of the most common things that I hear from women as an excuse, right? This is an excuse, a justification for why they are still operating from their masculine, is that, the world's really unsafe. Men are really unsafe. I can't really be in my feminine in a world where men are so unsafe, where they're not devoted, where they're not interested in leading, right? And I get it, right? I understand. I mean, I've never been a woman in this life, but I understand that in a world that is shit in a lot of ways, that it can feel very unsafe to be a woman, especially really to be in your feminine, because that requires a huge degree of trust, right? A huge degree of trust that, men are competent and men are acting in your best interest. And I'm not just talking about in a relationship here. That's one thing, but I'm talking about in general in society. But what women have to understand is this is ultimately just an excuse, just like any other excuse. Your ego is the most incredible supercomputer when it comes to making excuses that you are going to buy into, right? That's what it does. It comes up with excuses so that you can remain stuck and maintain your current identity. It will give you the best excuses in the world, right? It knows the ones that you're going to buy into, the ones that you're going to believe, and those are the ones that it's going to give you. And the thing is that ultimately, even though it's quite true that, this world is shitty in a lot of ways, right? And there's a lot of men that are assholes and undevoted and all that stuff. I totally agree. It is ultimately an excuse. That is what it comes down to. And the other thing is, you will end up creating a completely different reality for yourself when you are operating from your feminine, right, along with an integrated masculine, right? So that, which does not look feminine at all. You just feel very feminine. A lot of the women that I've worked with who have really started doing the work in this way, they have told me, right? So this is firsthand account. So they're telling me that men just start stepping up in such a massive way instantly. It's like a light switch. And I agree. I agree. I buy that, because it is a light switch, right? Men are programmed to want to devote to the feminine. They are programmed to want to provide and protect for women that are feminine and show them respect as a man. That's just natural. Now, that doesn't mean that every single man in the world is like that, right? There's sociopaths and predators and all that stuff. So that's undeniable. But, most men, I'm going to say most, like the majority, are going to feel that switch in them in the presence of a really feminine, radiant woman. And they're not going to feel that they're not going to feel that at all when a woman is in her masculine, right? It's like, that's just not, we're just not programmed that way. And the thing is that this feeling of lack of safety from women, right? There is some, I can say, okay, there's some truth about externally, there are some things that are unsafe, right? Like emotionally and otherwise, physically. But ultimately, it's really because a woman has not been able to make herself feel safe, right? As long as you have tons of trauma and other things that are going on, right? You are going to, it's going to be very difficult to really let go of that masculine energy, that masculine way of operating, because you're using that to protect yourself. What you're essentially doing is trying to protect yourself from all of that trauma being triggered. But the thing is first of all, that needs to be triggered, right? You're never going to heal if that doesn't get triggered. And but then the other thing is that you're, in a lot of ways, you end up creating that unsafe reality when you are in your masculine, right? Like a woman who is feminine and fully, her masculine's fully integrated, there's not going to be many men that are going to want to fuck with her, like fuck with her in a bad way, because they can feel it. They can feel, first of all, how feminine she is, and like that is just so beautiful. It's like, oh, I just want to devote to that. I just want to protect that. Right? A man will feel that. Even men, even a lot of men who are somewhat emasculated, right? They will feel that, and they will just kind of rise up and be like, oh, I feel different. I feel like a man around this woman, and I want to, I want to do what I can to make her feel safe and loved. That's a natural thing. But the other aspect to this is that when a woman is feminine and integrates her masculine energy through her feminine, a man can also sense that she can't really be fucked with in the way that, like, essentially what it feels like is, okay, not only do I feel this urge to devote to her and provide and protect her, but also I know on a subconscious level, I know that if I screw around, right, if I take advantage of her, she's gone, because she knows that she deserves better, and she's fully connected to her body. She can sense when something's off, and she's just not going to deal with that, right? And in a similar way, like it's the same thing for a man, right? Like when a man is really in his masculine energy, right, he's really strong, who's going to mess with him? It's like almost nobody, right? Because people can just feel that presence, and they're not going to want to mess with him because they know that it's not going to work out very well, right? The same with, I don't know, like an ultimate fighter champion walking down the street. Even aside from their size and everything, they're putting off that energy, that confidence, where it's like nobody wants to mess with you, because you can just feel that it's a really bad idea to do it. And it's the same kind of thing, but very, very different. I gotta be clear on that. It's very, very different with a feminine woman, because it's not a feeling of intimidation. That, right, she's not making people feel intimidated. She's making men feel both, like men, to want to provide and protect for her, and at the same time knowing that they need to give the best if they want to, keep her company. See if there's any questions. No, not really questions yet. Yeah. So this whole like masculine thing, like I gotta say masculine because the world's so unsafe. It's just, oh my God. I wish women who are stuck in that excuse could see the world through the eyes of women who've really started doing the work in this area, right? And of course, they've got to be open to it, because if they really want to believe that excuse, then they'll find every reason to continue to believe it, right? No matter how much evidence they're really getting to the contrary, they will choose to stay stuck. But for women that are doing the work, right, it just becomes a different reality. It's like it's not just your partner, right? It's not just your man that changes. It's all men. And like, okay, I'll give you an example in my life, right? Like, I have been so selfish for most of my life, right? Just so focused on myself. I don't give a shit about anybody else. You take care of you, I'll take care of me, right? A lot of people already know about my story with my wife earlier on, all that stuff. And that really changed with the birth of my son. It really changed as I was polarizing my relationship, and I could feel more feminine energy from my wife and all that. But the other thing that has been new for me, right, since I've really taken into the online space and started coaching and all that stuff, is, wow, like when women are really feminine with me, right, online, and respectful and just able to be vulnerable and soft, I want to do absolutely anything to protect them, right? Like I can feel that, and it's not like this like identity of, oh, I want to, like, oh, I should be responsible, right? Like it's not about that. I feel compelled to do it. Compelled, right? Like if I was an animal without a neocortex or without like all these beliefs and stuff, I would still feel compelled, because this is a very primitive thing that I'm talking about. It's like there are all these women that are being soft and vulnerable, and I feel compelled to protect them and keep them safe and keep them able to continue operating that way, right? And other men, right? Like I'm sure a lot of women have experienced that online with other men when they were able to be vulnerable, right? It's a, and I'm not saying every single man, right? Because there's some pieces of shit out there. I'm not saying this is every man, but it does activate so many men in such an incredible way. And this is what I'm talking about this, like inspiring a man's devotion, right? You're not trying to do anything. You're just being soft and vulnerable and not debating, not, trying to teach a man, none of that crap. I'm not trying to control, just fully letting go of control, just being gracious, being grateful, all of that stuff, and not as an act, because if it's an act, then that's just manipulation. That's not real. I mean, when it's actually real, men feel the urge to really step up, right? Online, offline, in a relationship, outside of a relationship, that's just how it is. And so, I feel bad for women that are still stuck in this old paradigm of thinking, oh, I just need to be like, I need to protect myself until the world changes, until the entire world changes and men start being honorable and devoted, right? And then I will soften into my feminine. Okay, good luck with that. No masculine man is going to be very interested in dating you, right? No man is going to be interested in continuing to have a relationship with you, right? Someone who's actually quite masculine, right? I'm sure there's some androgynous man that would be interested, but I'm talking about really masculine men. And it's like, what if all the women were to stay masculine or androgynous or whatever? Why would men even be motivated to, I'm not putting this on women, like, no, but just for the record, I'm not saying this is a woman's responsibility to do the work first, but I am saying from the other point of view, why would I really feel like stepping up as a man? Like, what am I protecting and providing for if it's not the feminine? If it's not feminine women, what's really the point? And so, of course, it's both genders that need to take responsibility for this, not just in their relationship. Okay, I want to be clear. This is not just about your relationship. I know that I am a relationship coach. That is what I primarily focus on. But this is about polarizing yourself in the world with everybody, right? Why would you deny yourself, not to mention everybody else, the incredible gift of being your best self, right? As a feminine, radiant woman, right? Why would you disempower yourself and say, I can't be myself until all the men in the world change so that I can feel safe to be myself? That's bullshit. That's a really bullshit belief that you need to get rid of, like, sooner rather than later. And I know that this isn't quite the same thing, but I will draw a parallel here in my life as a man. So, for most of my life, I was a terrified little pussy, essentially. Like, I was so terrified of talking to anybody, especially women, right? I was hopeless with them. And I couldn't be myself around anyone except for, like, my brother. I was the only person I could really call it safe to be around. And if I just made those same kind of excuses that a lot of women do, and of course some men do this as well, but it seems to be primarily women that make this excuse, then it's like, oh, I just got to wait for women to become completely non-judgmental and really soft and sweet so that I can step up and lead. Wow, that's about the most disempowering belief a man could ever have, right? That would be ridiculous. And when I started to step up and lead, I did it primarily through meeting women, right? Because I was just like, I got to get this area of my life handled. I need to stop being so pathetic and have no confidence in myself, and actually go start talking to women and get rejected by women. Essentially, that's what I did. That was my first year. Is essentially a lot of rejection and not a whole lot of much else. But I learned how to really give myself to a woman right from the beginning, right? Where I would go up to a woman and say, oh my God, I just think you were so beautiful. I just saw you walking down the street and I had to come meet you, right? And I would say that like truly from a genuine place, right? So that is energetically a massive gift. And that's not an easy thing for a man to do, right? It's a lot easier for a man to say like, hey, how's it going, right? Like if it's a very low risk opener with a woman, right? If she rejects him, it's not a big deal. But when a man goes up to a woman, it's like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, I had to meet you. That's like taking his heart out of his chest, essentially. It's like, here you go. This is a gift I want to give you just because you're so beautiful. And it's essentially leaving it up to the woman to be like, oh, thank you, like you're great too, or being like, no, I'm not interested in you, right? And then just like a rejection, some kind of a rejection, and that really hurts. I mean, it doesn't really hurt me anymore. I mean, I'm married now, so I don't do that anymore. But in the last few years of doing it, it didn't really hurt. But early on, it hurt a lot. Right? It's a really big rejection to have, and I've gotten a lot of those rejections. But I never had the disempowering, since I was 23, I never had the disempowering mindset of like, I'm going to just wait for every woman in the world to be really soft and sweet and be graceful when they reject me before I can be myself. No, that's ridiculous. I'm going to be myself now. I am going to be, I mean, I didn't have the terminology for it, but like, I am going to be, I'm not, okay, it's not true that I was devoted, but I was energetically giving, right? Which is what a devoted man does. So a lot of the time, throughout any interaction I had with a woman, from the very start, I was energetically giving her gifts. I was giving her a compliment. I was leading her. I was making her feel safe, all that kind of stuff, because it felt good to do that as a man. I'm not gonna wait around for the world to change for me so that I can feel safe to do that. And yes, I know it is different for a woman, it's different for a woman to fully open up her heart and feel vulnerable, to express vulnerably, than it is for a man to lead open-hearted, right? There are differences, but there's a lot of similarities too. And I'm not going to give women a free pass on this. Be like, men have to do all this. Men have to completely change. Like the entire world has to change. Men have to become safe before women can be feminine in like the relationships, but also in society. No, change now. And it won't always go well, right? It certainly didn't always go well for me as a man. But when it doesn't, just don't talk to those people anymore, right? and be grateful that they gave you a gift when they were not, when they weren't as honorable or whatever as they should have been. Because hopefully that brought up some trauma for you. You feel triggered because they did something shitty. And it's like, okay, good. Now I can process this. That's what I did whenever I got rejected. Oh, well, that really hurts. That felt like a knife in my chest. Okay, I'm going to go and process this for a few minutes so I can let that go and not let it bother me anymore, right? I learned how to become fully safe, to feel safe, and not just in my masculine either, because I actually developed my ability to operate in my feminine to a huge degree as well. Just go up to people and be vulnerable and soft and express all my feelings and let go of control. And I've done both. I'm developed in both ways. I don't recommend men do that now that I understand polarity, but I have gone both ways. And you can make yourself safe by just processing all this trauma and just pushing yourself to be who you really are, instead of having this victim mindset of I can't be myself until the world changes for me, until my man changes for me, until my woman changes for me, until my mom changes. Like, right? It's you can change now. See if there's any questions here. Okay. I'll just take one or two. In my case, it's not just about being unsafe. I feel attached to my masculine. I like my masculine and I don't want to dim it down. I mean, I get that my feminine is radiant and powerful, and I really want more of that for sure. Also, a relationship is super, super important to me, but it's not the most important thing for me. What are your thoughts on inner polarity between the inner masculine and inner feminine? Well, so, I guess that was probably my mindset 18 months ago too. That sounds pretty I didn't know what masculine and feminine meant, but I saw both of those sides of myself and I really liked both. Right? I really like both, Mike, and I accept both. And that's a really good place to be when you're able to accept both, because I'm not teaching any woman to not accept their masculine. I'm not teaching women to judge their masculine in any way. I'm not even teaching women to judge themselves when they're operating through their masculine, right? You should be able to accept yourself fully and then make a choice to operate in a certain way, right? I'm able to fully operate in my feminine if I want to, 100%. I have no interest in doing it because it's not particularly useful, and it's not really the way that I can serve my wife or the world or anything, right? Like that. So for me, it's like I want to be masculine because I like that feeling of being responsible. Right. And it's just not really responsible to be in my feminine. It doesn't help polarize anything. It doesn't help change the world. And, I can't even give you a good answer on the motivation for the feminine, because like what I did is like my masculine is much more integrated now. Right. So like I have both, but it's like I'm operating through my masculine, but I'm fully devoted. So that's my feminine integration. For a woman, I mean, if you're able to do both, okay, are you able to go out into the world, be vulnerable with everybody, just let go of control fully, not worry about anything, but also step into your masculine if you have to, and you enjoy doing both? If you're totally comfortable, then that's good. At least it's not because of, it's not fear that's holding you back. So that would be my first thing that I'd be interested in. I never call the relationship between inner masculine, inner feminine, as balanced, because it's not actually balanced when it's not what I consider balanced when it's unintegrated, right? I could call myself balanced because I'm masculine, but my feminine energy is integrated, right? So I'm very masculine, but I have, because of my feminine energy, I'm completely devoted to whatever I'm devoted to, right? My wife, society, everything that I'm working on, my purpose, and it's for other people, right? I do it for other people. Hopefully that answers that question. Seeing what else there is. Isn't masculine a place of giving, safety, trust? So it's not like we should just give up, but maybe just be aware of it. Well, I mean, if you fully integrate your masculine, you're still going to feel safe, right? You're going to feel safe in your own skin. The problem is that women develop their masculine and it's not integrated at all, and then it's a very scary process of going from, oh, I've got my masculine shell, it protects me, I operate from my masculine, going from that to fully letting go of control and fully being vulnerable and expressive and just not trying to get outcomes anymore, fully just being you. If you push through that, you can become confident in being that self. You can process the traumas that are keeping you afraid of being that self, right? And that'll all come to the surface. And then you'll just feel safe in that new way of operating. And it'll be a much more radiant um, way of, oh, it's my phone, radiant way of operating, where you're just flowing. You're not trying to control anything anymore. But even if you did that, you'd still have the ability to use your masculine energy if you had to, if you absolutely had to. It's just when you get to the point where you have healed a lot of this stuff and you are just operating from your feminine, and you're just radiant and vulnerable and soft, you're not going to have to use your masculine all that much. I'm not saying you're not going to ever have to use it, right? Especially, search, like if you're a single mother, there's certainly going to be more cases you're going to have to use it, but you're going to have a lot of men stepping up. Let's just put it that way. Especially, I'd say especially in today's world, because it's such a rare thing for men to experience. It's like when they find a woman who's like that, they're all over it. They don't want to let her go. They will just be fully activated and want to, provide and protect her, right? That's what makes them feel good. And in a world where men are often not feeling like they have a role and a place in society, and women often reject them and don't let them truly lead and don't really respect them as men and all that kind of stuff. When women are able to operate in that way, well, yeah, you're going to have a lot of interest, right, in men that just want to step up, and not just sexually, but just to be able to feel like they are in that role that's been in a large way denied from them in society. And of course, that's in large part their fault too, for not really stepping up and becoming more masculine. But so equal responsibility, always equal responsibility. Everything's co-created. So yeah, if for both men and women, this will because it is this does affect men as well. If you want to learn how to become feel like completely safe in your body, right, as a feminine woman, as a masculine man, a man who's completely open-hearted and giving, right, always devoted and not holding back out of fear. If you're a woman who is completely open-hearted and expressive, able to express all your feelings, not trying to control anything at all, just being open to receiving, that there is a process to getting that, to becoming that person, right? It's like a step-by-step process of pushing through fears, of becoming closer to the person that you are. And honestly, like the one, other than my course, right, that'd be the number one thing. But second to that, is join my lifetime membership, my women's group and my men's group, right? That is a place where you can develop those skills and learn how to apply those skills in your life because these are tools, right? We offer you tools to really get in your energy, your masculine energy or your feminine energy, really starting with communication tools, and stay there, right? And it's going to feel really uncomfortable. You'll be amazed how just changing wording of things when you're expressing yourself, it's like, oh, wow, I feel really unsafe doing that. I feel really uncomfortable, because you're not used to it, and you are essentially exposing yourself to potential hurt, because you're really opening yourself up in that way. And you go through that process over and over again, and it'll become who you are, because that is who you are already, right? It's just underneath all your crap, underneath all your trauma, underneath all of your wounding and your fears and all that shit that you've been carrying since childhood. You can uncover all of that by using polarity, and that can really start just by changing the way that you communicate. Tap into that energy and start uncovering all of this, and start healing through all of these all this crap that's over top of who you really are, so you can start operating who you really are all the time with your partner, and just all the time, like literally all the time. You deserve that. You deserve to be you all the time without having to hide it in any way. without having to make excuses for why you're hiding it. That's something that is possible if you want it. So if you do want it, go to relationshipofyourdreams.com and we'll start working on that, right? We've got tons of videos. We got an amazing member support system. You can start applying this stuff literally today and start pushing through these fears and traumas and all this crap to become closer to who you are. And this is a process. This takes, weeks, months, weeks and months for like some of the best growth, but, years to a few years, couple of years to really become an entirely different person, a totally different way of operating through the world if you continue doing the work, right? So you have to want it. You have to want it enough to make that investment in yourself and push through all those fears to actually get it. But if you want it, you can have it. So relationshipofyourdreams.com. I can't answer the rest of these questions. I will check them out later, but I already went, oh my God, I'm at 31 minutes. That was way longer than I wanted to talk. But this was a really important topic. So thank you all for tuning in. Check out relationshipofyourdreams.com if this is the kind of growth that you're interested in your life. And see you next time.